Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've got another war video for you today. This is season 40. We have the Planetary endurance tactic today, so I am bringing in Kitty with the subdue. And then additionally, this is tier 4 war. I'm not boosting currently. I do use some boosts a little bit later. I usually take path 5, take as many mini bosses as I can along the way. And because of that, the teams are not always ideal, but in this matchup, I saw enough Kitty Pride fights and a couple Tigra fights that I decided to do the Kitty and Tigra duo. So this thing with ebb and flow knockdown, it's not ideal to use Tigra here because the ebb and flow is going to get rid of my debuffs every once in a while. Right there, I mess up the punish of the special one. I just didn't practice the spacing. I'm usually good at that, and unfortunately just couldn't get it together. So hopefully I'm thinking that's going to be my only mistake. I'm going to build some special ones again to get some of my senses back here. That was a nice move there, charging the heavy into the special one to get a little bit extra distance. And then from here on out, I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm only going to be using the neutralize to keep track of the rock stacks and basically, you know, heavy him every once in a while to do a little bit of damage. So the reason she's not ideal here is because of ebb and flow. It will be, you know, getting rid of all the ruptures every once in a while when ebb and flow goes off because you lose all your debuffs. So the key is to make sure that there's always neutralize up as we're approaching 15. When doing Tigra versus Thing, you always want to start being a little careful once you get to around 12 or 13 rock stacks. Because if you have 14 and there's no neutralize up, or 15, and then you throw a hit into him without a neutralize, it is going to cause the unstoppable. So like 13 is sort of like the danger number. But even right there, you saw that we hit 13 and it was absolutely fine. So, you know, just another example of like me not being the most skilled Tigra player. Obviously, I could have been doing more of the punishing off of the special one attacks and stuff like that, but we just used the neutralize, use knockdowns, and she has enough damage to get him down even with class disadvantage. So that's how that fight went. Not the ideal counter, but we made it work. And then on this next one, we have a hit monkey. You can see the health pool is very small on this hit monkey. Part of that is tier 4, part of that is just that he doesn't have a lot of health. So it's not going to be that big of an issue to just do a lot of basic hits here. Even with the protection up, it's starting to chip him away. And because it's hit monkey and, you know, knocking him down can sometimes lead to some issues. You know, plus he will go debuff immune if we knock him down. He will, you know, evade, he will purify our debuffs, and he's building up some aggression prowess and whatnot. My strategy here was going to be get to a special 3 and then knock him down with a heavy and then throw the special 3, and that's going to do a ton of damage, right? It just sort of like takes off a bunch of health all at once, makes the fight a little bit safer. I do make a pretty critical error here, which is that when I throw this, it's I wasn't phased, right? I mean, obviously she's phased in the animation and is phased after, but because I didn't throw it from a phase, the incinerate is not a passive incinerate. If that passive incinerate was ticking right now, he would basically have died from that special 3, but instead I extended the fight ever so slightly. And at this point, I'm just going to take him down with basic hits and just be careful because, you know, hit monkey, especially with a few prowess, if you make some errors, if you block a special 2, something like that, you can get into a lot of trouble. So I do knock him down one more time. We bait one more special 1, and then that final hit gets him down. So nothing too tricky there. I've taken hit monkey on path 5 many, many times, often with Apocalypse, but with Kitty, the strategy is about the same. So now we're going to see, this is node 22, which is hazard, shift, incinerate, and shock. It also has insult to injury. And we're going to see this planetary endurance node for the first time. Now against Terrax, it's not going to make the biggest difference because a lot of this fight we're going to be doing like backdraft intercepts into his rock field and not taking damage, ramping up as the incinerates don't proc on us. Even if we get shocks on us, they're going to heal us with willpower. But he does something very silly right here. he just started throwing lights into the air, and we got clipped before the fight even started, and that did a ton of damage, dude. That was rough. So, you know, that's the AI being the AI. It was definitely a little unsafe to just start going ham. I'm so used to playing Terrax and just like going in for those intercepts, and obviously it's not always safe, especially when we're not ramped up with our prowess. So a couple things here. Kitty has subdue, which you're seeing it's putting these passive neutralizes on him, and that's somewhat taking care of the planetary endurance, but you can see that some of those buffs that increase his power rate are sticking, and you know, we're not able to neutralize every single one. And then I think we have to hit his block to get rid of them, but the way this fight style is, we're not really going to be hitting his block much, but we're getting into a good rhythm. Having the Kitty synergy for the unblockable is pretty huge here. And, you know, when you're playing Kitty, you're going to get the fight over faster if you throw your specials. But if the fight is somewhat dangerous, like this one, it's probably better to just keep your 20 prowess and just be safe and phase the entire fight. So, you know, ideally we don't want to be hitting him when he's in shock mode. But because we're phased for so long and we're just willpower healing off of it, it's not really the end of the world. I find for the most part doing either medium lights like I am now, or earlier in the fight doing medium light is going to get the job done against Terrax. And now, you know, he's playing into what we want to do a little bit more than he did in that first instant. And now, you know, a calculated risk. I'm pretty sure this special 3 is going to kill him, so I just throw the special 3. Now that's a lot of hits, man. 110 hits is a long time to take him down, and ironically that didn't kill him. So yeah, this is a beefy Terrax. I didn't check if he's rank 4, but I'm assuming he is. And then we do take a little bit of rock field damage at the end. So, you know, if I had boosted a little bit, that special 3 would have killed him. I wanted to check if he was rank 4, but I couldn't see. So you'll have to look back in the video and let me know if he was indeed rank 4. Now, I told the team there was a Doom on node 23. I really had no business taking a Dr. Doom with my team. So thankfully, one of my teammates took him down with Overseer. But here we go with the other member of our team, who is Omega Sentinel. And there's going to be 2 Omega Sentinel fights in this video, which I would argue she is a better counter than Nimrod for. This Kitty Pride has power stings, first of all, so it makes it a little bit tougher to get a special off. And additionally, she has power snack, which the reason Omega Sentinel is so good for is she is a tech who is nullify immune. So power snack, even though we're getting all these armors, is never going to affect us. It's never going to be giving her extra power. Now, the way I'm playing is very conservative. I'm getting my pauses in. I'm getting my medium enders in. And, you know, for anybody that complains about the amount of debuffs and the time it is for upkeep, I think if you watch the way I played her, I'm keeping these things up. You know, the cowardice is up the whole time. We have 7 of the plasmas. I mean, that to me was very smooth. I couldn't even comment on it because it was going so fast. So yeah, Omega Sentinel, it takes a little bit of upkeep to keep her debuffs, but we chose cowardice to turn off the cowardice, and ended up having a really good time. No power snack. We didn't even have to throw specials, but we did. We did one big special too, and that took her down. So now we have another Tigra fight, and this is, you know, ideally Dr. Doom is the best counter here, but she is quite good. The only reason she's a little dangerous here is the sadist node means when there's a lot of debuffs on the opponent, they're going to be hitting harder. So this one I actually practiced because I kind of messed up that thing. It's really important to time your dash back on his special 1 so that you can get in there. Now, we do not have the protection down, but this special 2 is still doing a decent amount of damage. Ironically, even though it was unblockable at times and we had the protection, it still did a decent amount of damage. So, you know, again, I'm not really trying to do anything with the ebb and flow, but right there we did nail a heavy intercept, and that got the protection down, and that was enough to just finish him off with one more special 2. So yeah, that's an example of me actually practicing a little bit and using Tigra against Nova. Worked pretty well, pretty happy with that one. And then next up, we have Sauron. And originally, I was thinking of using Omega Sentinel here. But this is one of these scenarios where, you know, do you counter the champion or do you counter the node? And even though she's a very good Sauron counter, when you use Omega Sentinel, if you unleash a special 2 when he has prowess, it's going to put on a ton of plasmas. I was a little worried about the mighty charge because that's just going to remove our debuffs and whatnot. So I decided to go Kitty Pryde here because she is very easy to intercept. We can potentially miss if we need to. And there's a couple ways to fight Sauron. I prefer baiting special ones. You can get perfect dexes on them if you practice a little bit, but what you're seeing here is he's never getting to 7 prowess, which is when his unblockable becomes ready, and then he becomes a little bit of a problem. So we're just baiting these, and basically he's never going to go unblockable if you only bait special ones before he gets to 7. Another way to fight him is to push him to a special 2 because that's a lot easier to bait, and then, you know, after he throws 1 special 2, start baiting special ones. But here we're seeing he never goes unblockable. We're able to get these easy intercepts. And, you know, Kitty is just taking care of business even with the protection up. It's not that bad. There we get 1 more intercept and the combo takes him down. So yeah, I felt pretty good about that choice. There was a Nimrod on the next node, and I very wisely didn't take it with Tigra, even though I'm fairly comfortable with that matchup. Again, it has a mighty charge, and it would have been a pretty long fight with him turning off our debuffs so often with mighty charge. So now this is the next morning, and I'm going to take the 3 mini bosses over here. I want to show this fight against Domino. It's another example of a reason that Omega Sentinel is a better counter than Nimrod for this one instance, and it's because she has the miss counter. Now, I do very diligently check my pre-fights. This is something I learned from my days in Tier 1. You do want to always be checking those. So I exit out of war, we go back in, we make sure the little diamond is there because I really want that plasma wave miss counter to be on this Domino at the very beginning of the fight. But again, the reason that she's so good here is she has the same can't be ability reduced ability that Nimrod has, but we have a miss counter on top of that. So whereas, you know, Nimrod would probably kill her in 1 special 2 and the fight would be over, what we do here is we do 4 light attacks. We get the pause going right at the beginning of the fight. Then we do medium so that we get this tracking debuff on. Now we have 2 tracking debuffs on, and the name of the game is just to make sure that there's always a tracking up. So we're going to kind of alternate, you know, between placing it and pausing it. And right there we have a falter, and you can see miss, failed, miss, failed, miss, failed. It would have been pretty easy with Nimrod to miss that interaction and then accidentally miss. Like, falter is not something that is very easy to keep track of in my mind. There's a lot of nodes in the game with miss where all of a sudden it creeps up on you and then you're just screwed. So here we're able to get the upkeep of this debuff the entire time. We're obviously never going to crit fail because none of our abilities can trigger that, and we cannot be ability reduced by a mutant. And we finished with close to 100% health. So again, Nimrod, especially boosted Power Start 1, would laugh at this Domino, but in that case, I went a pretty safe route. She's also rank 4, Nimrod is rank 3. I feel pretty good about that choice. So now we're going to stretch Kitty Pryde a little bit. I probably am going to put in the title of this video something like me pretending to be a Kitty Tigra player, because I don't really have a lot of experience with her. I wanted to try this out. Now, taking Korg with Kitty I don't love, especially in something like Battlegrounds when you don't have the synergy. But when you do have the unblockable synergy with Tigra, it makes it a little bit safer. So this fight is going to get off to a rocky start. I did heal her up, even though I don't use items that often in War in Tier 4. I decided, let's just see if we can take these next 2 minis. So there we took a bunch of block damage. What I'm doing is baiting the heavies and then throwing lights into the air. There the spacing was wrong. But this way I'm not taking any thorns. Ironically, I'm taking so much block damage that it may have been smarter to just deal with it. But now, you know, our neutralize didn't really do much because look at his power rate, right? He's got a lot of these buffs on him, and his power rate is very high. And right there, we got clipped on a dash back. I would love to blame that on the game, but I'm pretty sure I was just too slow. And we were not phased. So this is going to hit all the way. And then he's going to go unblockable and unstoppable. So I just decided to phase and throw this special 3. Unlike the hit monkey, I actually remembered to dash forward. And fortunately, adrenaline is going to heal us. The only good thing about Korg is we didn't have any armor breaks on us. So that special 3 really didn't hit that hard. So I'm thinking in my head, if I can just survive that big mistake, then we're going to be okay. And at this point, I think we've gotten rid of those, what are they called, flourish buffs. And we don't really need to block much for the rest of this fight, which means that I don't think we're going to have to deal with the power rate except for that mistake that we made at the beginning. Right there, good use of a special 2 during the phase, and that's enough to take him down. Because we threw the special 3 first, our prowess was pretty strong, and we did recover and make that fight happen. So felt pretty good about that. Definitely a little shaky because we took a special 3 to the face there. But yeah, I feel like with Korg, if you're phasing, the mediums aren't going to do any damage. We had the unblockable, so she was more than enough safe there. And we could have played it better, but not the end of the world. So I did have a couple extra potions and decided to heal her up. It turns out I really didn't need to, because this fight is going to be a little bit of a joke. I'm not super sure about this placement because of the existence of Kitty. But like I talked about earlier, sometimes in these kind of dangerous fights, the most important thing is to keep your prowess and to not ever lose it. So as tempting as it is to want to throw a special attack, we're just going to always have, you know, over 10 prowess so that we're unblockable and we can phase his special attack. So right here we phase in. The misses do a ton of damage, right? Which is pretty nice. And again, we just want to get to like a nice high number of prowess so that we don't lose that much every time we phase in. We don't have the ghost synergy here, so we're not like going to be keeping all our prowess when we do those big misses. And right here, we got the timing okay on that special one. I'm going to have a couple slightly better special 1 miss punishes, like right there. It's usually better to do like medium light, dash back, and then medium light. Here we do it correctly. Yeah, very, very nice use of the phase there. And yeah, there's really no issues here. We just kill him with basic hits, and with the misses, we do need to bait one more special 2, but here we go. The misses will kill him. And yeah, she's just such a good bishop counter. It's unfortunate how good she is because, you know, RPG wise, she doesn't really have any countering for him. It's just that she's OP and can miss everything in sight. So anyway, that was my war pretending to be a Kitty and Tigra player. Hopefully I once again showed that there are scenarios where Omega Sentinel is better than Nimrod. I think I showed 2 of them pretty well. We are kind of losing this war right now, but you know, I still used a couple boosts and a couple items because war is really fun for me, and I do like, you know, contributing to the team and everything like that. So I felt pretty good about taking all those mini bosses. I think it was 9 fights total, and definitely made some mistakes that hopefully you can learn from. Hopefully this is a good showcase of that subdue tactic if you haven't seen it yet and how it works with a champion like Kitty Pryde. Don't, you know, those flourish buffs can really add up. That combat power rate on that Korg was getting a little scary, so definitely take it seriously and use the subdue tactic if you can, or other neutralized champs, and you should have a good time. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for checking out my war video, and I'll catch you in the next one.